Dr. Pragati Sharma from Phoenix Group of Institutions, Roorkee. I'm working as an associate professor over there. I'm also the senior member IEEE and the fellow member the Institution of Engineers India. I'm really thankful to the organizing team of I2OR who just spared me such a nice opportunity to express my presentation onto the need of the hour topic, that is a cell phone radiation impacts on human body. In this presentation, we are going to cover the first generation cell phone up to the fifth generation cell phones, and we are going to express all the things in terms of the radiation impacts versus the frequency changes. That is, we are going to use the terahertz frequencies in the upcoming technologies. So let us start the presentation and enjoy. Let us start the presentation. The technological overview is saying that as an introduction, yes, the people are saying that the mobile phone can cook your brain. It is very much true that the frequencies which are coming from the base transceiver stations, that is a tower, up to the mobile phones, that is named as a MS, yani mobile station, and these frequencies as well as the power have its own impact onto the human body, and it is very much dangerous as the effects may come in terms of the short-term effects or the long-term effects. In short-term effects, there may be the sleep disruption, the hormone disruption, or the concentration, attention, and behavioral changes. While in terms of the long-term effects, it may be as serious as the cancer risk or the psychological stress. So the research area we have taken is the 7 different categories I'm just going to explain, which are opted in terms of the research area. The first one is the frequency of concern. As all these things are getting calculated in terms of the SAR value. SAR is actually the specific absorption rate. It is that rate which is actually the measure of the radiation, and by how the frequency is going to affect the SAR. For example, if I am going to increase the frequency from the first generation up to the fifth generation, whether the value of SAR is getting affected or not, this is the part of the research area. The second part is saying the far field radiation, and the third is saying near field radiation. These two are explaining that if I am in front of the tower, then the radiation will be measured as the far field radiation, while if I am just using my cell phones and some tissues are getting affected near the head zone, then it is termed as the near field radiation. So the next parameter is exposure duration. If the exposure of the call, yeah, we can say the how much time I'm going to use the cell phone, is it actually implicating the radiation effects or not. Next one is the age of the concerned user. For example, if I'm using the cell phone as an adult and a child is also using the cell phone at the same time, for example, the 1 hour, then whether we both people are going to affect it the same? Definitely not. Then what are those parameters by which the child is getting more susceptible for the radiation? Then after the Wi-Fi and the hands-free, whether we are just going to use the Wi-Fi or the hands-free devices, it is linked with the health issues or not. So the national and international agencies working in this regard are ICNIRP, the NCRP, FCC, IEEE, for which I am the member also, and the WHO. The research design, which is taking opted as the far field measurement versus the near field measurement. When I'm going to explain the far field measurement, then the complete whole body will be observed as the radiation prone zone. While in case of the near field measurement, only the effective part of the body will be considered for the susceptible zone. The research analysis is done for all those categories and the finally data is getting computed. These are the initial work done in this regard. So it is actually now scientifically proven that various categories of the cell phones are getting impacted onto the human body. is the cell phone is actually using the radio frequency, that is the electromagnetic frequency, and it have its own electric and magnetic field effects. So these are various types of initial work done in this regard. The methodology which I am going to use is, this is the tower versus a person is at, for example, r meter distance from the tower, then that r meter distance will be considered as the far field radiation impacts, and if that the radiation values, that is the SAR values, actually below the 0.08 watt per kg for the whole body, or 1.6 watt per kg for the part of the body, any specific tissue, then I'm in a good zone. That simply means the radiation is going to affect me less, very less. And it can be checked from your cell phones. Just what you have to do, just dial the star hash 07 hash. This code is actually giving you the SAR value of your cell phones. If this SAR value is lesser than the 0.08 watt per kg and 1.6 watt per kg for the specific whole body and the part of body, then you are in a safer zone. The electromagnetic waves versus the heat effect is shown over here. These are the electromagnetic waves which are going on. It is having the electric and magnetic field components, and then these components are actually getting ionized our body atoms, and due to the ionization effects, the heat is getting produced, and this heat is actually going to produce the hot spots. So the hot spots are actually increasing the temperature of that particular tissue, and the radiation will be absorbed as the maximum if I am in the resonant frequency zone of that radiation. What is the resonant frequency is we can easily understand through the absorption demo. If I am working onto the below of the natural frequency, then the radiation is very low. Just see the graph right now. The graph is getting increased, it is getting at its peak, and this is the frequency at which the cell phone frequency versus my resonant frequency is getting matches. So the absorption is higher at this particular area, and below and above the natural frequency the absorption is very low. The experimental process is just done in terms of the incident electric field and the induced electric field. The incident electric field can be just taken out from the E naught equals to 7.746 under root P oblique R, where P is the power of that transmitter and R is the distance at which I am from that transmitter. So the incident electric field, let us take an example. If I am just at a 1 kilometer distance from the tower, then the value of R is 1000 meter, and the value of P is that particular power which is getting emitted from the BTS side. So E naught can be taken out. Then what will happen if not only me and besides me a number of users are also standing over there? Whether the radiation will be same for all? Definitely not. It is depending on the induced electric field inside the body. The tissues of the body for all different users are actually changing. So induced electric field is getting checked out from EI equals to E naught exponential times minus Z oblique tal, where these two parameters are just deciding the thickness of the tissue, the skin depth, and the many more things onto which the SAR is actually working. It is also based on the conductivity. So finally the SAR value can be taken out as SAR equals to sigma EI square oblique rho watt per kg. As a conclusion, we can just see that if the distance from the tower versus the user is getting increased, then the induced and incident electric fields are getting decreased, and due to it the SAR values are actually getting decreased. This is our desired parameter. So all these things are just, we have computed the research onto all these things, and different 5 papers are published in various journals of repute of national and international levels. So first paper is actually based on the second and third generation mobile phones. It is having its own impacts onto the electromagnetic radiation and based on the skin dry and skin wet tissues. Here the red values actually giving you the the hazardous zone area. Up to the left side, this is showing the distance from the BTS. So up to the 4-meter distance, we are actually in a hazardous zone side. If I'm just taking the frequency as 1800 megahertz, then this value of distance actually increase up to the 5-meter. I'm in a hazardous zone. If the frequencies again increase up to the 2140 megahertz, then the 5-meter distance is increasing, and the depth of the skin tissues is actually impacting up to the 3.5 mm depth for the skin tissues. So the second paper is actually saying, based on the human body, complete human body, which is just subjected for GSM base station, yani the tower. So the different values are actually average for the whole body, and we can easily see over here that the 25-meter distance is actually taken as a hazardous zone, and all these values are actually calculated through different formulas. Third paper is actually based on the particular human tissue, that is the eye tissue, and onto the eye tissue, what will be the impact of the 900 megahertz and 1800 megahertz frequencies. This is the frequency of the second and third generation mobile phones. Here we can easily see that up to the 10 centimeter of distance, all the just values are getting red. So it is actually very critical values are coming out. If I'm using the cell phones for a specific higher value of the power, then my eye, my ear, and the nearby area of the head is getting imposed. These are different values which is actually in a red zone area. Next paper is based on the 5G technology. The 5G is actually using the gigahertz frequency, and its speed, yani data speed, is actually in terms of the 1 Gbps. It can be easily understand from this graph that onto the 1G we are just having the data speed as only 2.4 kbps, while up to the 5G it is greater than 1 Gbps. So the higher the frequency, the greater the radiation. The last paper, that is a fifth paper, is actually giving the alternative mechanism just to bypass the radio frequency and using the light frequency. We are working in the visible light spectrum, that is deemed as the VLC spectrum, and right now we are using the Li-Fi technology. The Li-Fi is actually says that the bulb of your room, or the I can say the street light onto the road, is actually giving me the data. It is working as the Wi-Fi provider zone through the light. That's why it is named as the light fidelity, that is the Li-Fi. So these are various tissues which are averaged over the whole body, and the different frequencies impact onto these tissues. The whole body versus the head, etc. The summary of research is actually saying that it is getting affected onto the maximum parameters, that all those maximum parameters are the distance, the frequency, the age, the conductivity, the cell phone uses, the exposure duration, etc. The precautions and suggestions can be taken out in terms of various radiation minimization techniques. These are various radiation minimization techniques which we can apply into our cell phone, and through this way we can just minimize the cell phone radiation. The radiation protection shield can be opted out inside the cell phone. The hybrid microwave absorbers can be put out onto the chips to minimize the radiation. We can also just opt for the highly directive antennas of the cell phone. The metamaterial embedded low SAR antennas for the mobile phone. This is the third 3D view of the metamaterial antennas. We can also use the split ring resonators to minimize eddy current losses, and the array of the split ring resonators can be opted out as the antenna type. The small metal strip can be added near the antenna to reduce the radiation. And the RF safe headphone and the RF safe protection cases can be used to just avoid the radiation impact. So this is all about the presentation, and I can simply say just try to avoid the use of cell phone for the longer duration. Keep it for the minimum duration, and be healthy, be safe, be happy. Thank you so much. These are all the references which we have taken to just complete our presentation. So this is all about the presentation. Thank you so much.